Good morning. You're listening to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Bill Graves, the president of sales at Diverzify. Bill, how you doing?
Doing well, Kemp.
It's good to catch up with you. I've been wanting to do this interview since there's been some changes in structure with Diverzify. Let's first run through your background, then we'll get through who Diverzify is. Bill, you're no stranger to the business. You've been in the flooring business your whole life. You were at Milliken before you came here about a year and a half ago. Prior to that, you were at Inside Edge, a commercial contractor, for about 4.5 years. Then at Mohawk for 6 years, but you came to Mohawk because you were at Lee's when Mohawk acquired Lee's, and you go back to the days of Jack Ganley and Jim McCallum and Ralph Grogan back at Lee's, right?
I certainly do. Worked with those gentlemen and would consider them all really good friends as well.
And then let's talk about Diverzify. It's a little bit of a restructuring, if you will. The core of it, Mr. David's based in Chicago, which most people know. The Zimajowskis, started in the hospitality business, but there's been an expansion of the focus there, and you've got 21 locations. Under the core group, you have Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, Indy, Cincinnati, Madison, Wisconsin, St. Louis, Jacksonville, and Tampa Bay. And then under affiliated brands, because most people know you guys brought in as a enterprise of brands. You brought in R.D. Weiss, which puts you in Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. Brought in Pro Floors in Sarasota, Lanes in New York, and Becker's in Minneapolis. Did I cover it all?
Yeah, I think you captured it pretty well. We've also, in addition to R.D. Weiss, we put a lot of energy into the CTS brand, which was part of that merger.
It'd be safe to say, when it comes to independent commercial flooring contractor, you're the biggest in the country. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, although I would honestly say we haven't spent a lot of time trying to determine whether that's the case or not. But certainly our trajectory would indicate we're headed that way.
Okay. You're part of StarNet. In February, it was announced that the structure was changed. Mr. Davids was a core part of it, but you're a lot bigger than that now, and it's a little bit of like a switching from a family organization into a major corporation with a different set of visions. Is that right?
I think that's a pretty fair analysis of what we've gone through. Without a doubt, Mr. David's, the core brand of the Zimajewski family, is still our flagship. Chicago is extremely important to everything we do. Yeah. But my conversations with their future started as early as 2016, and I enjoyed that view from a different position in the market as a supplier to them. It is a new entity that we've added both capital, and then we've assumed the assets of the brands that you reviewed in the introduction.
All right. And so one of the things it says on your website is you're the world's largest direct self-performing workforce. I think that's interesting. So let me just get clarity on that. Some of the people who do the work are employees, but you still use subcontractors, right?
We do. We definitely do subcontractors, but without a doubt, one of our core values, very, very important to us. We feel very strongly, like many of the other leaders in the industry, we started as a service organization, and we've never left that, knowing that that's the primary reason why people engage our services. And so installation and project management is core, and we believe and feel very strongly that self-performing allows us to bring a different level of experience to our customers. So we're very committed to that.
Yeah. Installation and the availability of labor is a huge challenge in this industry. And having people that are on your staff, because I think you have 1,500 employees as an organization, having some people that are employees that are doing this work helps kind of all glue it together, don't you think?
It really does. You just have a different level of control over the service that you're delivering when you're scheduling. And don't get me wrong, we have a lot of great subcontractors that help deliver our promise to our customers. But it is a different experience when it's a direct employee versus a subcontractor. They have a business to run, and you're part of it, but in a different way than when you're self-performing, for sure.
And Diverzify now has the scale to be kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of your clients, right?
We really are. As we've gone through and done the mergers and acquisitions of companies and the partnerships, and we don't have one way we do things, so almost all of our relationships are unique to that relationship. But what we've added is a big breadth of solutions that our customers are looking for. So we do a broad range, obviously carpet, which was strong, but we're obviously large and resilient. We're large in hard tile or in the ceramic world. We're big in concrete finishing, resinous flooring. And most recently we really took a big leap in our service offering by adding R.D. Weiss, which was far more of a create demand company than meet demand company. And so their disinfectant services, we couldn't have had a better. We didn't see that when we did the transaction. We didn't think that service was going to be in such demand, but that's proven to be extremely valuable. And that's just one example. We really do look at it that as we add to the company, there's no smartest guy in the room at Diverzify. We really take the best practices, and most recently with ProFloors, they've brought a perspective that has really made us stronger, and that's a key part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions I want to get to, but one last thing I want to point out is that you have done this growth without the help of private equity. I mean, it's you and the banks. I mean, that makes it nice because there's nobody in there that wants to flip later on, right?
That's correct, and I think at the times we're in right now, we just recently in Diverzify received a perfect score from a contractor score, which really looks at the financial stability in our industry, and we think that that's really key, and even be a bigger concern as we come out of the situation we're in. I think the financial stability from both general contractors and end users, making sure that that's there, is going to be important, and we're in a really good position. Mm-hmm. But we are not associated with private equity.
Yeah. And so what are your growth plans in the future?
Our growth plans, obviously, we pride ourselves on being a professional organization and do all the due diligence that everyone does and build your strategic plans. And part of that last year, of course, was what would happen if we had a 10, 20, or 30%. At the time, it didn't seem like an exercise that was really going to be necessary because we were enjoying the same kind of business that most of the other people you've interviewed were. That obviously proved to be a good exercise. But our goals, we're back. We obviously kind of hit the pause button as we were all trying to figure out where we were and what essential work, et cetera, is. But we're back very active in our growth mode. We do a number of different looks. We obviously do the ones that you'll see recognized, Floors by Beckers and R.D. Weiss, right. ProFloors. But we also do a lot of adding, we call it bolt-on, which is really taking a partnership and taking a smaller business, taking their relationships and their capability, adding it to our capabilities, and allowing them to take those relationships to a much higher level by not being limited with finances, etc. So our pipeline on those types of activities are pretty rich right now, and we're getting into a lot of conversations with expansion. So we would see our expansion continue to grow this year, not as rapid as we had planned. And then we have certainly high hope as everyone gets on more of a level.
A perfect example was the Lanes bolt-on that you did. I mean, that's just a small company. You glue them on, and they continue to do their business, but with more resources, right?
That's a great example, and we've done that many, many times through our growth, and we can continue doing that. And it allows us to bring things like safety directors and quality control things that really a small company couldn't afford to have that functionality. Yeah. But they have great relationships, and so now we can let them take those relationships and fully experience what they can do with those relationships because we've got that support behind.
I did one last question. We can't get into much detail, but obviously this huge virus has affected our business, and I'm just curious real quickly how much that's affected your business.
We're like everyone else, understanding what terms like essential business and all that. But once we got through that, we were really fortunate that we were able to pivot real quickly because we had already been investing heavily in our digital platform. So as we go forward, I would just say this. The term or the saying, politics are local, have never been more relevant than they are what we find ourselves. So our experience is really market by market as how that state and that local government has handled it. But we have been very active through the entire process. We've had very few projects actually postponed. We've had a few postponed. We've had very few canceled, much to our surprise. But it really depends on what location on and how you've done it. But I would say all in all, we've been very, very pleased and pleasantly surprised on how well our business has held up. But also, like your other folks you've talked to, we look at AIA and we're worried about the projects that are not being put together today, what that's going to mean for us in the future.
All right, Bill, we're running out of time. We're going to have to do another interview to talk about what the office market might look like, but let's do that another time. Again, been talking to Bill Graves, the President of Sales and Business Development with Diverzify, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.